Transmitting to you from Old Heart Radio.
Prepare to have your bones chilled and your hairs raised. It's the WacArnold's Brothers Podcast.
Welcome home.
Oh, God. You know, that's always so terrifying right before record. Oh, I like that. Right. Hold on.
Nice little slurp to get the podcast started.
I do think it's kind of, you know, it's hard to not. I guess when I was like starting these podcasts, when me and Jeremiah started them, and then kind of when I was just like doing whatever the fuck I was doing with it, that whole slurping and like burping and like whatever the fuck, right? It was hard not to do that on air sometimes, and like when you're recording, and so it just became like this thing where it's like, well, fuck, dude, like. It's not like I'm editing these super tough, so it's like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Either way, god damn, dude, like the WacArnold's brothers are here with an episode 38. That's
38,
2 episodes away from the big day. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up, but we've been steamrolling through some good stuff lately. I would say,
have.
like the Pieces episode's coming up this actually tomorrow. Yeah, and so that one's a hoot. And you know, this movie we set aside for today is just fucking bonkers, dude. What's the movie, David?
Slumber Party Massacre 2, which has very, very loose ties to the first one and like reincarnated like greaser fucking thriller. It's so weird. Like
so that was one of my many questions about this movie was like, so is this like, I was so confused as to where this killer came from.
Yeah, no, you're not the only one.
Okay.
So the first time I watched it, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, like what's happening?
I was like, what is going on?
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, this movie is just it's definitely like it's one of those horror movies that I feel like once horror kind of really got started, like an identity started getting shaped for different types of horror, like genre wise and like or like sub-genre wise. This one was just like it was meant to be campy in a lot of ways. It was like it has an over the top villain that you're just sort of like you're backing for some times for some reason because you're just like, what the fuck is this guy? Like, you know, and it has you know everything in between. Like this movie was just it's fucking entertaining as hell. And so if you haven't like watched it, get on it, dudes.
It's
hot
like
dogs.
it's like an hour and like 10 an hour and 15 minutes. So it's a quick movie. It's a quick movie. And there's, I think it's like 40 minutes in when the first kill happens. And then from there, it's like just a bunch of kills. But for the first 40 minutes, it's more so like a cheesy, like a comedy movie with like the girl having like these mental breaks kind of sort of, because there's like, and we'll talk about it obviously, but there's like that cheesy scene where they get in like the champagne and the pillow fight and they're dancing around.
God, yeah, dude. It's like it has these really like cliche iconic kind of moments in like movies like this where dude, like I mean there's one of the first, I think it's like it's like right into like the opening credits kind of fade into it or whatever. It's like this dream sequence of like
the girl,
the main girl, fucking what you just said her name, Courtney. Sorry, Crystal was the name of the actress. And she's like, and it's like, you know, cheese fest, like 80s shirtless dude running in her dreams. He's like catching a football, like look, you know, like it's just like, you know, what the fuck is happening right now? And it goes fucking off the rails at times, which is so fucking brilliant. But yeah, that like whole opening where it's like
it's like you don't know the characters yet, but it's Courtney, and she's dreaming of her crush Matt. Yeah, he's like you said, he's shirtless catching a football, and then it like switches to a nightmare, and she has it's all these flashes of scenes that happened in the first movie. So it has like they're real quick, but it has some of the great scenes. Like there's a great scene in the first one where the pizza man comes to the door and his eyes are like drilled out and he falls to the ground. And so it has like a quick, so yeah, it just flips through all these quick scenes of all these different death scenes from the first movie.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I was like, these have to be. They didn't just make those things for this dream sequence. It has to be part of the other movie.
Yes,
which does make me want to watch the other movie because some of those kills look fucking. Some of that like
the first one's a solid movie.
Hell yeah. But yeah, and then like I love that like that little sequence you're talking about, and then like boom, Slumber Party Massacre 2, like purple lettering or whatever, and like it just it was an epic shot. As always, the credits have impressed me for some reason.
They're actually pretty bad, but
they are for sure. They're bad in like a kind of all right way. It's
right.
But then you kind of pick up with Courtney and her mom, who don't seem to have a very they have a weird relationship, man.
Well, yeah. Well, it's like we learned in this quick conversation, and we learned a little more later that Courtney's been having these nightmares, obviously. So we're talking about like the loose connections to the first one. So in the first movie, there's one of the survivors. Her name is Valerie, and in the first movie, she's babysitting her little sister Courtney, who's now grown up in this movie. And we kind of learn in this one that Courtney's been plagued by nightmares from that night, and that her older sister Valerie is now in a mental institution somewhere.
Just send her off to a mental institution.
Yeah.
Yeah, and her mom kind of seems almost like a little overprotective.
Totally.
Which, given the circumstances, might turn a mother or a parental figure into.
Right.
Yeah. And so, Courtney heads off to school, I believe. She starts jogging down the street. I never understood that. Like, I always saw some kids doing that kind of like. They'd hustle to school sometimes, man. I was like,
yeah,
why are you wasting that energy? But she stumbles upon a really random, like, freshly killed bird, it looks like.
Yeah, you think this is gonna like play some bearing into the movie, like it's gonna be like an omen or like the dead bird's gonna come into play later, but no, it's just she just randomly stumbles across a dead bird for no reason.
Yeah. It's just like what? It's just there. And then I love that her friend, like the brief like interaction they have over this, because her friend swings by and is like, "Hey, like hop in" or whatever, and she's like, "What were you looking at?" And Courtney just goes, "A dead bird," and this is like so matter of fact. Like,
this is Amy, by the way, and then she makes some comment about like, "You're so weird sometimes, Courtney," or something like that.
Yeah, and so like in a way, I guess it kind of maybe sets up Courtney's issues, her ongoing issues further. But the next thing that happens in the car is just fucking glorious. So Courtney flips on the radio, Amy's radio in her car, and they start singing this song, one of many that pop up in this movie.
I had never heard this song before, and I never want to hear it again.
I don't ever, but it has something to do with "I'll be your Tokyo convertible."
Like, I wanna be your Tokyo convertible.
Oh my god, dude!
It's awful.
So bad. It's so.
And they're
bad.
she's like, "Oh, I love this song," and they start fucking singing along to it.
They both know every word. They're just jamming on it, and then like they get to a stop, and like her friend for some reason like waves down the car behind her, and it up rolls. That dude, that football hunk you saw in the dream sequence, Matt.
Yep. Matt pulls up and starts macking on Courtney. Not in the sense where he's like a douche. Like he's actually like a nice guy, He didn't roll up and be like, "Hey, sweet tits" or something like that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
he doesn't have any cheesy lines like that one, oh god, the guy at the bar in Death by Temptation.
yeah.
But he does sort of be like, hey, what are you doing after school today?
Right. And long story short, we learn here that this is Matt. This is the character that Courtney has a crush on. Amy invites him to come to band practice. We also briefly learn that Amy and Courtney are in a band with their friends Sheila and Sally.
One amazing aspect of this movie, for sure. Their band is, I love the times that they're like coming up, I guess, right here, right? Like,
oh man,
they dive right into like a band practice performance, and the lips,
it's bad.
It's so bad.
the second one is a lot better, but this first one, like, not only is the song bad, but you can clearly tell it's an audio track over them, and the lip syncing is off. Like, it's just like, holy fuck me, this is bad,
dude. It's rough. And yeah, like, they're all like moving in like really stiff but like in sync kind of ways sometimes, and like, the guitar playing, it's like you'd see somebody like maybe move their hand like once up top and then like hit, like they're strumming, and then like they wouldn't move again for like 2 minutes and then like do it again, Oh, it's great.
There are two positives to her friend group, though. So we have one of the actresses, the actress that plays Sheila Barrington. Her name is Juliet Cummings. She's in Friday the 13th, Part 5.
Oh, yeah.
And then the drummer, Sally, her name's Heidi Kozak. She's in Friday the 13th, Part 7, but she's also in Society. So we have two Friday the 13th alumni in this movie.
Yeah, man. Those are kind of like people in some of those original movies. They kind of go on to be royalty, So it's like when they pop up in other things along the way, it's just sort of like, it's cool to see pieces of it, pieces of the career. But while the band's jamming out, up rolls Matt.
Right.
And he's grooving on it. He's into it.
He hopped on the hood of jumps out, hops on the hood of his car, and he's, grooving along,
Yeah. But then I love this. Like, the band takes a break, and so Courtney and Matt can break off. But there's this brief shot of like, does anybody need a drink? And somebody goes like, yeah, get me a slice. I was like, holy shit, dude.
A sign of the times, yeah.
I haven't called for a slice in a long time.
And then the other one's like, I'll take a Perrier, please.
Oh my god, like, yeah. And they said it's super weird too, like a Perrier.
But yeah, Courtney and Matt go get some time together, and Matt mentions that he asks her what she's doing this weekend, and she kind of mentions that actually me and the girls were planning on going up to Sheila's dad's new condo, but I haven't talked to my parents yet, my mom yet, but if we do go, do you want to go?
Yeah.
And Matt's game, and Matt actually even gives her a quick smooch. They share a passionate kiss.
Oh yeah, it was a romantic lip connection, man. You could tell the power was there.
Totally.
Yeah, and so they make plans. He's like, I'll call you tonight, and she's all like,
that's right,
great, or whatever, and like, it's just it. I don't know. It's one of those movies that like there's no high stakes in some of these relationships, including some of these main players. You're just like waiting to see what happens to them, if you ask me. But anyway, moving along.
Right.
You kind of jump back into, I think, was it at Courtney's house?
Yeah, she's having dinner. Looks like beef stew.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Looked like some hearty stew, man. There's like a couple of chunks in there that she was spooning around, I think. But yeah, and I think that's when she brings up to her mom that she wants to like go out for the weekend or whatever, right?
Yeah, and at first her mom's kind of like, well, brings up Valerie and going to see her this weekend, and Courtney's like, well, we want to go have band practice for the dance, and her mom's like, oh, so you don't want to go see your sister, and they kind of get in this little back and forth. It's not, it's not like they're arguing, but long story short, it's not really important. Long story short, Courtney ends up getting her way. She eventually drops a plate and starts crying about it. And her mom's like, honey, it's just a plate. And then Courtney's like, no, I'm upset because it's my birthday this weekend. And, I don't want to spend my birthday at a mental institution. And her mom's like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And I think didn't her mom even say that she might have, or maybe they were talking about the plate. Never mind. I for some reason thought that her mom said she didn't remember or something like that.
Yeah, no, she said she didn't remember about it.
Oh, she did. Okay.
She's like, oh yeah, she's like, I forgot it's your birthday. I'm sorry, honey. And basically, long story short, she agrees to let her go to the condo for the weekend.
To the party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I think what's it next? It's like you get kind of in on the sort of a late night conversation between Matt and Courtney real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Where classic situation, the parents oh my God, you're still up, but you're on the phone.
It's 12 o'clock on a school night.
Yeah, and they quickly hang up. But I want to note that Matt's pad is it's glowing neon. And I don't know, dude. It's just they're really painting this dude. Oh, and right into this sequence, you have another dream sequence where Courtney's tossing and turning. You see a shirtless football holding Matt. And
yeah. Why is that her fantasy,
Yeah. And then there's a kind of a vision of her and her friends, her and her bandmates all kind of driving
together,
flashes of different things, shots of I can't tell. Are these premonitions? Are these just
right
dramatic foreshadowing?
Are they premonition? I think it's some of them are premonitions, some are flashbacks. Yeah, she has another
kind of
nightmare.
Really.
Long story short, she has another nightmare. She even at one point wakes up, starts listening to music, and if you listen closely, you can tell that the music she's listening to is actually a recording of the song that was playing during her band's band practice.
Oh, hey, some late night, studying.
Yeah, and she falls back asleep and ends up having another nightmare, but this time it's of her sister in a mental institution, and this is where you catch the first glimpse of the killer that's going to be in this movie. And how I mentioned because in the first one it's just this guy. His name's Russ Thorne. He's just an escaped mental patient, and so first time you're watching this movie, you're like, what is I don't even know what to say, because I don't know how they came up with this killer idea. But if you haven't seen the movie, it's this I'm not even going to pronounce the actor's name right, but his name is
I looked it up. It's Atanas
Ilyich or something like that. Yeah. And apparently he was a musician, but in this movie, the killer he looks like kind of like a greaser, but also like an 80s rock, like a mix between a greaser and an 80s rocker. And he has this ridiculous over the top gigantic red guitar with a drill on it. And in this sequence, you see him, she is dreaming of him, and he mentions this line where he's like, rock and roll never dies.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, it's the first glimpse, and you honestly, you can't make it up. It's just and even especially into the rest of the movie. But yeah, dude,
right.
This character is just, you're in for something. And then there's a flash of a drill going through her chest, and Courtney wakes up and
yeah.
And then it kind of jumps into the next day where they're all leaving, taking the road trip to the condo they're going to be at.
Right.
And
we kind of get some banter on the way. Sheila asks Courtney about what college her sister went to, and Courtney lies and says she went to Cambridge, I believe. And then we see Sally's reading a book that she took from her pervert brother, as she refers to him, called Hot, Wet, and Wild. And then these dream sequences kind of persist for a little while, where now as she's in the car, she has another dream sequence of the rocker guy again, more of the mental institution, and then they eventually stop to get groceries, and she has another one of where she's in the car and her like bloody sister runs up against the car, and startles her out of her sleep.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts. It's like all of a sudden, like, I mean, things are definitely escalating for like whatever her mental state is. It's
right.
Like,
and they only continue to as well.
Yeah, they only continue to. Needless to say, they eventually get to the condo where, I think this is Sally's quote, they're going to have the ultimate slumber party weekend.
Yeah. I like how that's the only, like of course they had to throw that in there because of the name of the movie. But yeah, she's like, a slumber party weekend with no parents or something like that.
Yeah, dude. And so when they're bringing all their stuff in, you kind of see some of the stuff in the back. They have their band equipment that they're going to be hauling in and whatnot. But they're moving up into one of the rooms, and Courtney discovers like a fucking sex doll underneath the blankets in the room that she's planning on staying at. And my God, dude, what was it? It's Sheila's brother. Yeah, because it's her place, but. She was just like, oh, my brother must have been here or something.
My pervert brother must have been here again, yeah.
Like, oh, my God.
Jesus.
And then they proceed to do, the classic sequence of like, oh, we're going to bust into the liquor closet or whatever. And, then it transitions into... This is the kind of a scene we were alluding to earlier, but they seem to break into like a bunch of champagne or whatever, and
they have some. Sorry.
No, you're good. It's just funny to me. They're eating like Cheese Whiz and shit, and like
and corn dogs. Yeah, and they break out the champagne. Oh my God! And then they start watching. On the TV, movie comes on called Rock and Roll High School, and one of them's like, "Oh, I love this movie," and turns the volume up, and oh my God, this fucking scene.
It's absurd, man, because then it immediately devolves into like they're all dancing around to the music, and there's just like it's
so corny.
It's so corny, and it
persists. There's even like. At first, it's all of them dancing, and then it does this hilarious scene that's like a minute where it shows one of them like dancing, and then it cuts to the other one, and she does like some cheesy dance move, and then it cuts to the third one, and she does something. Yeah,
exactly, man. It's like it was. For some reason, they built this stuff into the movie, and I do not know why. It's
kind of a nod to the first movie, because there's also. Sequence sort of like this where the girl, I believe they like get in a pillow fight, but this one is way more over the top. And while this is going on, we see that outside Jeff and TJ roll up. So one of them is dating Amy and one of them's dating Sheila, but these two guys roll up, and they knock on the door, and the girls are super loud in their little dance fucking sequence that they don't hear them. So the guys actually go to the window. And then the scene gets even progressively more over the top, because one of them, like Sheila, actually takes her top off and her bra off, so she's topless. They start spraying champagne over each other.
It's so fucking ridiculous, dude.
And then a pillow ends up getting broken, and there's like feathers everywhere. We're not doing it justice.
No, it's fucking absurd, man. Like to the point where it's like Sheila's like you said, she's topless. She's like whipping her like friends with her bra, and like shit. And then TJ, you cut to TJ, and he's like, "My God, they actually do this stuff?" Or what?
Yeah. It's the other one's like, I think we died and went to heaven or something like that.
Yeah, like movies like this is what gave other things fodder for fucking years to come. Like this is,
I guess so.
They really like reached, I feel like, a pinnacle of the cliche in this movie.
One of the things that I thought was interesting is that this was made in '87, so throughout the '80s there was like all kinds of nudity in movies. So I thought it was interesting that Sheila was the only one that got topless in this scene. I wonder why the other ones didn't. Like, were they not cool with it, or what was the situation? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a question I sometimes wonder. Is like, and not to discredit the overall movies or whatever, but sometimes I wonder if it's like certain actresses maybe are like, I want to say maybe pressured, but like maybe they're more. I don't know. I mean, I think it's the same thing with dudes. Like, some people are probably more willing to hang dong, and some ladies are probably more willing to, like put their titties out there. But I don't know. I thought that was kind of strange though too. I was like, why is there like a necessity of like, I don't know. I was like, why is this one person topless? Anyway, whatever. The scene's fucking ridiculous. Yeah. It's wild and
it drags on for a while too.
It drags on for a while, which is not the only sequence that does in this movie. Like they really like stretch some stuff out, but they kind of break with this whole, like, they hear a noise or whatever, and somebody's like, oh, all of a sudden, like, instantly like, oh, is the back door locked? Or
did you leave the back door locked? Like, yeah.
Like stuff like that. It's like, and so, they break off to go find a little more, to go investigate the mystery. But
yeah, Sheila does. Yeah,
Sheila does. She takes the champagne with her. And it's great because I think she arms up, right? She does like she like uses the bottle. She like holds the bottle like she's gonna bash somebody, and then sees the refrigerator door kind of ajar. And TJ, fucking, the two of those goons again, they kind of pop out of the shadows. TJ and Jeff, but they're not supposed to, because that's the whole thing, right? They're not supposed to be there. They didn't.
They were supposed to be there the next day. Yeah, they showed up a little early.
Yeah, so they weren't expected, but those two in themselves are kind of like fucking weird character. Well, TJ is a really weird character.
Jeff's a little more normal, but TJ's like the really annoying, abrasive, douchey party frat boy.
Yeah, he's the character. He's the party guy. Yeah,
his voice is. You know who he kind of reminds me of is he kind of reminds me of Adam Devine.
Oh yeah.
But like a way more douchier, less funny 80s like Adam Devine, because their voices are somewhat similar, and some of the lines he delivers are kind of that way that Adam Devine will like deliver a line, like, you know what I'm talking about?
I absolutely do. And that's one of the funny things about that actor is just because like he really knows like the humor he can pull off with that kind of character or whatever.
True.
This guy, I could, you can't tell. It's like, is he really like leaning into character, or is this just like, I don't know, is he phoning it in? I don't know. Either way, TJ, and he's dating Sheila, right? That's what you said.
Yeah.
That's what we said.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the movie dictates. Sheila and him like seem to be boning all fucking night.
Yeah, it doesn't show it, but yeah,
keeping up Courtney and I guess only Courtney. It's
yeah, because her and Sally are sleeping in a bed, sharing a bed, and yeah, Courtney's hearing the loud sounds of their lovemaking, and it's keeping her up. And so she ends up eventually falling asleep, but has yet another, Jesus Christ, how many are there going to be? Yet another dream sequence. But this time her and Matt are hooking up, but then she sees more visions of the driller killer and her dead sister. And then she randomly wakes up the next day on the kitchen floor.
Yeah. I was like, it was so strange because you have no context, and then like, yeah, it just sets it up. She's on the kitchen floor, and then she starts just like crying or whatever. Because she's like so confused about what's going on. And that kitchen is definitely an 80s kitchen. Anyway, so to further establish going into the next day, it's like Amy and Courtney, they're down by the pool that's out back, and they're talking, Courtney's like talking about how weird she feels and stuff, and Amy's just like, I bet you're hungover, have some juice and toast.
Trying to like totally dismiss everything she's saying. But however she does, when Courtney does mention her nightmares, and Amy has this quick line of, well, I was reading this article the other day about subconscious projection.
Yeah, like what the
Just like a one line which holds no bearing to the rest of the movie.
Absolutely no. And yeah, and then she, you know, then the narrative just keeps getting pushed as more characters kind of show up.
Right.
Like, everybody's just sort of like, oh, you just must be hungover. And everybody does kind of roll down to the pool. Even TJ eventually jumps in with the blow up doll. And,
God.
you know, splashes everybody like classic party guy.
Right.
Oh man. And very shortly afterwards, I know, like, suggests skinny dipping. So he's definitely on track. But you know, you think you can escape the dream sequences for a second, but no. Just because it's daytime and they're by the pool does not mean you won't get one, because there's this interaction where like TJ tells Courtney he's gonna make her feel better or whatever, and then like pushes her in the pool, and then just like proceeds to fucking drown or something, and you know, like have these flashes of all these different things like the driller killer and you know, whatnot. It's just like it was just like you just left a dream sequence.
It's
like
overkill.
Like one scene ago. Yeah. But yeah, they eventually, you know, like they pull her out. I think Jeff's the one that hops in the pool and pulls her out because everybody else is just gawking. You know, and then they're just like, oh, you know, you're okay. You just swallowed some water. Just, you know, be careful.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like, and TJ he even goes, you know, asks how her headache's feeling now and shit.
What? Yeah, he's a schmuck.
Dude, it's such a.
And then it's like presumably later in the day, and Sally and Courtney's on a couch. You know, it was probably like after this whole event, she went and took a little nap or whatever. Mm-hmm. Her and Sally are talking, and Sally mentions, you know, the guys made lunch. So they head back down to the pool to have lunch, and Courtney goes to bite into her sandwich, but has a vision that there's like a bloody hand between the hamburger buns that she's about to eat.
Yeah, dude. And she like tosses the burger, and everybody's like, what? And she says something like, oh, the burger's weird. Great excuse.
Right.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's like, dude, she's having a go of it. The bloody hand was kind of neat, though.
Yeah, it was. You can tell that she's starting to progressively get worse.
Definitely.
And then we have another band practice scene, and this one isn't nearly as bad as the first one. Like, the song is admittedly a little better. But it's weird because as they're having this band practice during the song, there's just a random, like, it does it like 2 times where there's like a random cut of Amy and Jeff like cleaning a car, like washing a car. It's so random.
Yeah, dude. I was like, what is happening? Like it's so bizarre. And then like you said, there's those random cuts, and then in between, it's also like the 2 boyfriends are just like rocking the fuck out in front of their like band practice. It's just like,
it's weird.
These groupies, they're just groupies. Yeah, the car wash scene was bizarre, and you get these like this interaction like right around there, right, where it's like, I guess it's trying to establish everybody's trying to explore each other or something, because like you catch like Sheila and TJ, and he's like, we're trying to read her passages from her brother, and like every time he reads like a sentence, and he's like, did that do it for you?
Are you in the mood yet? And they end up, eventually going and hooking up again. And then we get one of the most, like, as if a lot of the stuff that hasn't happened already isn't ridiculous enough. We get this ridiculous fucking scene where Courtney's in the fridge and goes to open the fridge, and this fucking raw chicken pops out and attacks her.
It was I couldn't believe what happened. I like rewound it because I was just laughing at it. It's so great, dude. It's like splayed out and it just jumps at her and like and like while it's like I don't know, attacking her or whatever, it's like spewing like fake blood a little bit out the top, and you're just like, the fuck is going on right now?
So bizarre.
It was fucking awesome. Yeah. And then, so Courtney, and this is one of many times that this happens, Courtney runs out of the room and like, is like screaming and like gets her friend's attention and brings them back in. And I mean, they see things like they walk in. There's a raw chicken on the floor with a bunch of broken glass around. And so they're like, Courtney, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, they start cleaning it up, and they tell her, maybe you should go take a hot bath.
Yeah.
So she goes up to take a hot bath, and as she is, we get this quick shot of Sally writing like lyrics to a new song.
Oh.
And they're really awful.
Something about a pie in the sky.
Oh yeah.
It was bad, dude.
I wish I would have wrote it down.
I want a lot of things that money can buy, but I want most.
All I want most
is a pie.
Is the pie in the sky.
Dude, what the fuck? What I kept thinking while that happened was, I was like, who wrote those lines? Like, was that like some random person on like, attached to the project? Was that part of the writer, like in the script, being like, these are what she's gonna read? It's so bad. It's so fucking bad. But yeah, you get that quick cut, and then you get, Courtney. You get back to Courtney, who is, taking a bath, presumably relaxing, for a little bit, and then she immediately has another, flash, and like the faucet starts draining blood into the bathtub, and she's like, screaming and covered in blood or whatever, and just gurgling over the tub, and then she like, she gets out of the bathroom, like shuts the door, and then you see it's even spilling out like onto the carpet.
That was a cool shot. Cool shot.
And she goes, she kind of interrupts Sally's artistic process, because Sally was writing those lyrics, and fucking Courtney just comes running down, screaming about blood in the bathtub, and gets her attention, and they go back upstairs, and it's just water running into the bathtub. And
Sally's like, Courtney. But then we get this shot that happens next is pretty awesome, and it's one of the most, like, I've seen still shots of this, seen a lot online, like just reading about horror and stuff, and it's really good special effects. So Courtney and Sally are talking, and Sally asks her what's going down, and Courtney breaks down and cries, and Sally, trying to maybe like ease her whatever she's going through, kind of mentions, well, I have problems too. I have this pimple that's just showed up. And as she mentions that, Courtney has this vision of Sally with this like gigantic, nasty, like pulsating pimple on her face.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to her face looking normal, and then she has a new vision of her face, and her face is all like nasty and droopy and gross looking, and there's this gigantic yellow pus ball that ends up fucking popping and blasting pus all over. Oh man, it's nasty.
Dude, it was so grody, and it looked so cool. And like the moment that pus burst and like sprayed not only on the wall but all over Courtney's face.
Oh, God.
You're just like, oh. It was fucking cool.
She runs out of there in terror again, and as she runs down the steps, and she runs into Matt, who finally just showed up.
Yeah.
And Matt's finally there to console her, and she's talking to Matt about the situation, and then the other guys kind of make mention about how, Courtney's ruined this whole trip so far she needs to be I think TJ says it, like she needs psychiatric help or something like that, and Matt essentially tells them to chill out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're just bugging about the party being squashed. TJ's just a bug. But yeah, eventually they got kind of, those three kind of go back, because they were like in the bathroom or whatever. They go back and meet up with everybody, and it's like Courtney's just like freaking out. She's just like, I'm hearing this guy laughing. I'm, trying to convince them of everything. And
Yeah.
I mean, it would be really fucking terrifying at this point if you're her, I suppose,
Of course.
because you're just like, I don't know, you constantly being plagued by weird things.
So they try to calm her down,
Yeah.
and Matt even says, I believe you saw something. And then they realize that Sally, they're like, well, where's Sally at? And, and then, Sheila even mentions like, maybe there is a psycho around here. But then Courtney is like, hears the sound of the trash compactor. And then in the next shot, we have these police that are there, and we learn that Courtney is like breaking down more. She mentions that the last time she saw Sally was her face popped, and that she thinks she might be in the trash compactor.
Yeah, dude, my God. Could you imagine that? Like you get that call and it's just like, okay, what's this fucking kid on? Like,
and they even say that they're like the cops, they're like, I don't know what drugs you've been taking.
I don't even care. I look when I was looking up the cast and everything, I thought it was cool. Did you catch the names of the officers?
Yeah, it's a little on the nose. But
it is. But you got Officer Kruger and Officer Voorhees, and like,
oh my God,
I was like, no, why not?
Right.
They pretty much dismiss it, and it's like right up, like they're kind of like hesitant on it, I guess we'll say, and right up until Sally walks into the room, and then they're well, clearly she's not fucking missing,
She makes mention that she went to the store to get more acne cream.
Yeah, dude, she's been sweating. This one's it, because this is like not only was that scene, but there was like a scene earlier where she mentions it to Courtney, where she's like, oh yeah, you're going through some stuff, like this zit's growing on my face.
Like wow,
like, real world problems, Sally.
The police get pissed and essentially allude to the fact that they just wasted all their time, in that if they do it again, there's going to be consequences.
Yeah.
So
I love that they quote him at, you wasted $200 of taxpayer money. Oh my God. So this kind of leads to like Courtney being like, I just want to try and relax for the rest of the night. And, so you find out that, Matt's been kind of giving her dinner in bed and stuff.
Yeah. The rest of the group mentions they're hungry. So they leave to go get dinner. And Matt's like, no, we're going to stay here. You know what I mean?
Matt's a pretty good guy at this point.
He is.
And he even goes so far as to bring her a cake with candles on it for her birthday.
Yeah, what a surprise.
Yeah. But I thought this was strange. And, maybe it was, they built it up for the cliche line, where he was like, aren't you going to blow out the candles? And she was like, I already have my wish.
My God.
They kind of start macking on each other with this like lit all these lit candles on this cake, like on the bed and everything.
Right.
I was like, these two, but this kind of leads to, well, everybody else kind of, I think, gets home and starts partying or whatever, and this leads, like I said, to them kind of, Matt and Courtney getting a little hot, more hot and heavy.
Yes.
But there's also like a vision, a dream sequence, or whatever you want to call it, that kind of develops in this scene where, like I said, everybody else is downstairs kind of like probably a little tipsy, drunk, and jamming, quote unquote.
Right.
And like all Courtney can hear is the shredding of this driller killer's guitar. Like just constantly soloing. And then she has a freak out vision of the driller killer drilling a fucking hole through Matt's chest. Except
it's not a vision. It's a real. Yeah, because she mentions they're getting hot and heavy, and she mentions, this, I've never gone all the way before. And there's a line earlier in one of her visions where the driller killer, where she has this flash of her sister, and her sister's like, don't go all the way. So I don't know, just kind of had some bearing to that scene where she mentions she's never gone all the way, and then out of nowhere, Matt just gets brutally drilled through the chest and killed.
It arguably is probably one of the more like some of the other kills you see some blood splatter and stuff, but this kill, like you get the drill through the chest, and then the driller killer even goes as far as to like pick up the arm that's like has like tendons, still attached to the body that it rips off and like throws and stuff.
There's also a cool scene where after he kills him, there's like flesh and stuff hanging from the drill, and then he powers on the drill. It was cool.
Yeah, I fucking agree. I mean, this was really like the first intro kill, like full on kill for this driller killer. So they're, they wanted to make it like notable and
get your money's worth on that kill. Yeah.
Hell yeah. And then Courtney freaks out, she runs down and, is like screaming and stuff. And everybody else is like, what the fuck? And then they see the driller killer also.
Yeah.
And
they finally, yeah.
Yeah. And so they're kind of skirmish, like running away from him and shit. A couple of them try and skirmish with them for a second, right?
Yeah, the guys do. Like Jeff tries to like smash a lamp into him, but he just brushes it aside.
Get that lamp out my face.
Yeah, and then he also runs to a couple of them run to the kitchen, and Jeff tries to pick up the phone to call the police, but they accidentally leave Sally by herself.
Oh no.
Sally ends up getting cornered. This is kind of cool. So Sally gets cornered, and it shows the driller killer walking close to her, and then we get a shot of him like about to drill through her, but then it cuts to Jeff on the phone, and we see that the drill went through Sally through the other side of the wall and then completely destroys the phone that he was just on.
Dude, it was cool. I loved that, and that's kind of what I like. I loved that like some of the kills were like, you see things like that in this movie where it's like good allusion to the fucking death, like but yeah, like also spot on aim for the driller killer, man.
Totally.
Like,
2-for-1 special, essentially.
2-for-1. Yeah. And like we mentioned, like during the skirmish earlier, I believe TJ got his fucking leg kind of shredded a bit, and so when after the phone gets drilled, everybody just tries to book it.
Yeah, Sheila and TJ run off together, and like you said, his leg's cut, so he's kind of limping.
Yeah, he's pretty tore up, and they try to flag down a car, and that doesn't happen. Like the dude just drives off, and
yeah,
I love that Sheila was like asshole. But like, yeah, it immediately turns to chaos as soon as the driller killer gets introduced here, and I wanted to note that this is like, how we mentioned that this was a short movie. Like this is about like, I'd say roughly 20 minutes off the end of the movie, so it just ramps up here. You know what I mean?
Which is good because you're waiting for it. But yeah,
definitely.
Because they build you up with all these different visions and everything, and then it finally happens, and then it's just like a breakneck pace for the rest of the movie. So, as we mentioned, Sheila and TJ run off together, and now Amy, Courtney, and Jeff are together. Jeff mentions, let's get in my car and leave. So they have this tense scene where they go back into the house to get his keys. They stumble upon Sally's dead body, which slumps to the floor in front of them, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But so they make a run for the car in like a horror trope kind of way. They have trouble initially starting the car,
of course,
but they end up due, and they don't make it very far in the car.
No. Of course, like there's some sort of sense of brief relief for them, but out of nowhere, the driller killer just appears in the back seat, and I think he has a rose in his mouth. He has a rose in his ear, and he just goes, "This one's dedicated to the one I love," and just drills the fucking fuck out of Jeff, dude, like right through the back, and you get this gory shot. Like it was fucking cool, dude.
It's good.
But that line.
He has some over the top lines.
I was like, what the fuck is this one's dedicated to the one I love.
He also has a line later where he's like, I can't get no satisfaction or something like that.
Dude, yeah. I was like, it was like, yeah, in like the last like part of this movie, all of a sudden the driller killer starts like, he makes like a handful of lyrical like nods. It's so fucking
over the top.
Oh god, it's so good. But
so yeah, Courtney and Amy, pile out of the car, run back to the condo, and then we get introduced back to TJ and Sheila. So they end up making it to a nearby house where they see the lights are on. They go to the door to try to alert the neighbors. They're pounding on it, but it seems like whoever's inside is listening to loud music and doesn't initially hear them.
Nah.
Out of nowhere, the killer shows back up, and as they're trying to walk away, he comes back and ends up dispatching TJ.
Yeah, dude, he drills that fucker hard. Like, this is the thing though, and we haven't much mentioned it. Almost every time the driller killer strikes, there is some sort of guitar solo-esque shreddage that happens, like like it's fucking over the top, because we can't forget it's not just like a drill he's using, it's a giant drill attached to a fucking like the world's most ridiculous guitar.
Oh yeah.
So it's so fucking great. So anyway, he as you said dispatches TJ.
And then we get this hilarious scene where they were knocking on that guy's door, and we just get this guy that opens the door for a brief second, like looks around and goes, "Damn kids."
No fucking care, man.
He's credited, his character is credited as Mr. Damn Kids. That's his
dude. Oh, I love that. That's such a good name for something. Like, oh man. Anyway, so you get back to the condo, right?
Yeah, Amy and Courtney have barricaded themselves in one of the rooms with the bookshelf, and Courtney tries to call the police again, but she talks to Officer Kruger, and who thinks that it's another joke again, and essentially tells them not to call back. So thanks for nothing.
they cried wolf, and and they're just like nope. Man, yeah, that's gotta fucking suck. That's gotta be a blow right there. You're just like, okay, well, I guess we're gonna deal with this. And this is the thing, I mean, like, at this point in the movie, as a viewer, you're just sort of like, what is this killer, man? He's like popping up everywhere people go.
It's almost like he's got these magical powers, essentially.
Exactly. There's mist everywhere behind him. Like,
I forgot about that. Yeah, there is
so much mist in this movie. But yeah, like you said, so these two are barricaded up in like a room, and eventually, I believe Sheila gets to the condo, and she's in fucking bad condition, man. She's stumbling. It's got to be TJ's blood, because I didn't see her get hurt.
Yeah,
right? And so she's blood. Like just smearing TJ's blood on the wall. She stumbles up the stairs, screaming to for them to help. But this is something you mentioned earlier in the movie. This is where the movie definitively takes a fucking final turn. I think so.
The killer, it's great. The killer breaks the fourth wall.
Oh yeah.
He looks at the screen and goes, "Now it's time for the fun part." He drinks some champagne. A jukebox song comes on. He lights a cigarette, puts on his sunglasses, and as if anything in this movie wasn't over the top enough, he starts doing this ridiculous, he's dancing, does this dance number. He's dancing to the music and starts lip syncing to this song, and it is fucking outrageous.
If you thought just the guitar and drill was crazy, this whole thing that just happens here is fucking nuts.
And we're not going to be able to describe it enough to do it justice. You have to fucking see this movie. You
really do. Because like you said, he's all over the place. All of a sudden, the lights all change in the room, and he's even hopping up on instruments and faking playing, a guitar and shit. He's just, dude. So it's all of a sudden completely in control. You see, what it feels like. You know what I mean? You're just like, well, okay, so I guess he's probably like an unstoppable character. He just talked to me as a fucking viewer.
Yeah. I didn't see that coming.
No, and so he's jamming all the way, like you said, like lip syncing and fucking everything, all the way up to the hallway where Sheila's fucking, pounding on the door for the other two girls to let her in because they still haven't fucking done that yet.
Yeah.
And he's getting closer and closer with his all leather fringe outfit.
Yeah.
And, like, there's this wild moment here where he's so close that the other two friends who have already started potentially unbarricading the door stop and re-barricade and refuse to let Sheila in, basically.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is such a fucked call, because, like, I don't know. And anyway, so the driller killer shows up he gets right in front of Sheila, and guitar solo away, he fucking drills that lady's like straight through the chest. And you don't see like necessarily like the drill hitting the chest this time. You see kind of like from the back point of view of like, her body convulsing and stuff. And like, yeah, dude, it looked fucking rough. And shortly thereafter, the dude breaks into the fucking room that they have, the other two have barricaded. Yeah. So
he starts drilling through the door, but they sneak out a window before he makes it into the room, and then they end up climbing on a series of like nearby roofs before they eventually make it to the ground. And all the while that they're doing this, it has like 3 different shots of the killer who just is standing on the peak of one of the houses, just wailing away on his guitar.
Dude, it's so ridiculous. Yeah, he's just up there smoking a stove with like a stove hanging out of his mouth, just shredding his drill guitar. Like, it's just so absurd, man. Like, it's like what like iconic, really. But like you said, like they're just really running across these roofs, and eventually they find themselves like, they get down back to the ground. They find themselves like in a construction site where a home's or something. Yep.
Which is actually a pretty cool like set piece.
Definitely. I was like in thinking about it, it's like an interesting like, the kind of jungle of it all is actually pretty cool. But
for some reason they decide to, because they initially get in there and get chased, and they decide to go, like Amy gets sliced a couple times, but they decide to go up to like the second floor for some reason, like a higher level in the fucking.
Oh my god, dude! Like, it's exhausting how many times the characters do that kind of shit, and you're just like, why would you go higher? Because like there's this, like you said, there's a. Amy gets sliced, and so she's kind of just like bad off. But as they're running up there, inexplicably, sorry, they're hiding out for a little bit actually, and the killer has this like, it's this weird moment, because when this chase sequence ensues, a song starts playing that's like, I'm gonna catch my love or something like that.
It's kind of like an Elvis-y sounding song.
Yeah, and it keeps playing over and over and over, and throughout this whole sequence, and eventually, like, it just stops. Like the music stops, and there's this like silent moment where the killer's like lights a stove and then goes, kind of like, where are they? And gets some blood dripped on him, and that's how he notices where they're hiding, right?
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I'll admit. Yeah.
But I love that there's this little break, and then as soon as the chase starts back up, the killer starts as soon as the chase starts back up, the song just starts playing again.
Right.
Like it's so much going on in this fucking final moment. But as they get even further into the building, it seems that's when we kind of have an issue with Amy, right?
Yeah. For some reason, she like stumbles and falls outside of the building.
Yeah, dude. Like it looks like she just like they're running and she just runs right off the edge.
Essentially, and Courtney, she's hanging out. We don't even know how high up it is. It's probably like 2 or 3 stories, not even that high necessarily. But Courtney's hanging on to her, and the killer ends up coming over and frightens them to the point where Courtney lets go of Amy, and Amy falls to her death.
Yeah, dude. Just like, and you get a shot of like her body on the ground, and she's definitely like confirmed dead.
Totally. Her like legs like bent one way. She's dead. Long story short, she's dead.
She's dead.
And then the killer cackles and is like, Courtney, here I come. And he follows her through the construction site some more. He even starts singing to her about her having to die. I forget what the line is, because there's a scene where she stops for a second and you can see him in the background. Yeah. And then he starts singing. He's like, she broke my heart, so now she has to die.
Yeah, that's right, dude.
You have to die, or something like that.
It's so strange, man. It's like, and I mean, honestly, like, you're just like, where's this infatuation coming from with this character? But anyway, so a little bit more of a chase ensues, we'll say, and then something really glorious kind of happens, where I feel like this is the first time in the movie that like Courtney gets any sort of like leg up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And it's
like,
all she needed was the one time, but yeah.
Was apparently the one time. And because like she finds this hiding spot, or she thinks it's a hiding spot, and she stumbles upon a fucking blowtorch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, here's one of those great moments in the movie where just the driller killer appears right in front of her. It's so, I don't know, I'm not going to be able to do it justice. The driller killer like appears right in front of her, and Courtney has the starter and the blowtorch in her hand, and then she just like laughs maniacally at one and like clicks on the fucking burner and just like torches the dude. And
real quick though, before she lights him on fire, he pops up and he looks at her and he goes, "Come on, baby, light my fire."
Oh my God, that's right. Oh fucking God, it's so bad, dude. And yeah, dude, and she just, the dude gets torched, and then his flaming carcass falls off the fucking building. It
was that easy to dispatch him. It was ridiculous.
After all of that, I was like, that was it. That's how they killed him, man. Like, what the fuck? I was like, whoa, it's so crazy. And then you kind of have this sort of classic confusion sort of ending, almost, like, if you ask me,
yeah.
Where sort of like the dude gets dispatched pretty quickly, and it goes to like sort of the next day seemingly, where there's like police like taking bodies and stuff, and who's the character that like she like uncovers to look at?
Amy.
Oh
yeah.
My God, dude. And as soon as she does, dude, so it's like Amy's like on a gurney or whatever, it's like covered up, and she like unfolds the blanket, and then Amy's eyes pop open and she starts laughing. And
yeah,
doesn't sound, it kind of, but it sounds like the killer, right? A little bit.
Yeah, it does, a little bit. Yeah.
But then what else happens though?
Yeah, then we go to this dream-like scene where we see Courtney's in bed with Matt. And she wakes up and looks over and sees Matt and gets this coy smile on her face and wakes him up, and they start making out. But as they start making out, you notice that the hand of the person she's making out with has these leather gloves on. And then we see that Matt that she's in bed with has morphed into the killer. But we also see that this is one last vision or break that she has, because we see her now, as earlier in the movie where we would have these scenes where she'd see her sister in the mental institution. Yeah. Now she herself is in the psychiatric ward, and the movie ends with her screaming as this drill starts bursting through the floor.
Yeah, dude, that's what I mean. So it's like, it leaves you on that note of like, oh shit, like, is there more? I fucking love that about some of these horror movies, man. Yeah, this movie is so over the top. Like, it is in so many.
You owe it to yourself to see it.
Yeah, 100%, man.
And it goes quick too. It's a quick watch. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So let me ask you this real quick. Is there a third installment to this movie or to this series?
Okay, so get this. Apparently there is a third installment, which I've never seen, but I believe it's one of those that has like an alternate title as well, and it doesn't necessarily have to do. I think they're in some kind of like building of some sort. I don't know. I've never seen it. But then, so there's something really weird. There's a character in the first movie, and then so there's a director named Jim Wynorski. We did an episode for Chopping Mall. But near the end of his career, he made all these really awful straight to DVD movies. Well, in 2003, there was a movie called Cheerleader Massacre, which I've seen back in the day, but apparently it's like has a loose connection to Slumber Party Massacre because there's a character in that movie that was in the first movie. It's so weird. It doesn't make any sense.
Wild. Just super fucking random.
It is.
I don't know. That's kind of fucking cool though. Wow. Yeah. This like even if you don't watch any the first one or whatever, like you can dive into this movie just fine, and like like we said, it's kind of a short ride, but it's so you get through a bit of character and then it just becomes like ridiculous and over the top for like a wild ending. I definitely love this. But how would you rate this movie, man?
I'd say 2.5. 2.5 attacking raw chickens out of 5.
Oh God. I would say, I'd say probably about like 3 1/8 star, or not star, 3 1/8 full leather fringe suit.
Oh, okay.
Out of 5.
Fair.
I loved, like, in terms of entertainment value, I love this.
Oh yeah, it's highly entertaining.
In terms of like, movie quality, it's
right.
It's no Scorsese, but dude, this was a solid one. I hope you corn dogs actually go watch the movie and listen to this podcast and all that.
Yeah,
so it syncs up because fuck, you need to. But either way, we appreciate the hell out of you watching. We got one more episode here before we do kind of a special episode. So keep coming in for that.
Yes.
Yeah, but any last words on today's?
I don't know. It's about to be the weekend. Just go watch some horror. You know what I mean? That's all I can really say. There's about to be a lot of good horror coming out. It's going to be a good year for horror. I'm really looking forward to. So I really like Ty West.
Oh yeah.
He directed House of the Devil. He's got a new movie coming out soon called X, and it's about this group of like adult filmmakers that go to this like rural location, and you'll just have to go watch the trailer. It has Mia Goth in it. It has Jenna Ortega, who just did a phenomenal job in Scream. Kid Cudi's in it. Brittany Snow's in it. It looks. I can't fucking wait. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, that I did hear about that, and I was excited because like House of the Devil immediately fucking hit for me, and I was like, who? Like it just Ty West became one of those cats to just kind of like follow their filmmaking career, I think, at this point.
Yeah, he hasn't made much. Like The Sacrament's good, The Innkeeper's good. He also he makes a cameo in another one of my favorite horror movies of the last like 10-15 years, You're Next. He's one of them. He's a character in that movie. He's the first one that gets killed with the arrow through the chest. But yeah, I really like Ty West, so I'm looking forward to it.
Hell yeah. Well, you heard it here from the man. There's a lot of cool horror coming up this year, so you horror fans better make sure to turn out, man. And we better start converting more people so we can get more and more and more horror.
Damn right.
All right, you corn dogs, make sure you talk to your friends and tell them to listen along. Why?
Yes.
Because we're going to keep making them.
Why? Because we said so. That's
Yeah,
why.
that's
'Cause fuck
why.
'em. That's why.